All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Cosmic Compass. It is a very special day in astrology, so I'm going to actually share a little bit before we bring on our guest. But first, let's do some breathing. Let's get grounded and centered and connected. And for those of you that are watching and listening later, thank you so much for joining us. We're bringing your energy in now, and we're going to just take a couple of breaths, just natural, easy breaths into the body. And then when you're ready, dropping your awareness down to the earth. You can close your eyes or keep them open, whatever feels right for you. And breathing in, up from the earth, up through the soles of your feet, expanding your belly. And exhaling when you're ready. We're going to breathe in again, up through the soles of the feet, feeling the earth support, expanding your belly. And exhaling when you're ready. And now just acknowledging the earth where you are right now, acknowledging those who came before, breathing in that support up through the soles of your feet, expanding your belly. And exhaling. And one more breath, breathing in, expanding the belly. And exhaling when you're ready. Just bringing yourself fully and completely here in this moment. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited. So Kristen has been doing this with me since the beginning. So I'm really excited that you're here, and I'll bring you on in just a moment. I'm going to pull 3 cards. We won't spend as much time as we normally do because I want to get into the conversation, and I have some astrology I want to share that, Kristen, I think you will find particularly interesting as an Aries. So, okay. So first card for this week, knowing that we're moving into this week with a lot of healing support, which code means stuff comes up. Okay, that's code for stuff comes up. All right, so healing support. We're going to pull the first card. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Here's our first coded healing support. We've got the ravens pulling the boat in the stormy seas. That works. Working for me. Again, just take in whatever feels right for you. Notice what you notice. And again, I notice something different every time. I don't know that we've ever had this card before on Cosmic Compass. So again, I was asking for support for this week, and here we have the beginning of that support. Okay. And then later in the week, we have a full moon. And so the energy continues to build through the week. Last night, I have this is over the window because there's a lot of light that comes in there. So that's a beautiful scarf that blocks out some light. There was so much light, and I was like, what is that? Did I leave a light on outside? It was actually the moon. And because it's cloudy here a lot, I just haven't been tracking where the moon is, and it was right there. And it wasn't full yet, but it's getting there. So if that's 5 days before the full moon, I'm just sharing right now. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, so our next card to help us through the week. There's a theme. Okay. There's a theme. I guess we better be on the lookout for the birds, right? All right. Hello. All right. So what do you see? What do you feel? What do you notice? Just, I have to laugh because it's just like, right? I just have to say that out loud, like, definitely bringing that energy in. Okay. All right. So again, lots to see in that card. It's not always as obvious as it might be, but I'm fascinated actually by what's going on in there. So let me just, it'll either come into focus or it won't. There it is. Okay, sort of. There's that full moon. Hello. All right. So far, so good. Let's pull another card and see what else was happening. We got all this support, all these insights. All right. One more card for that. Oh, I think I might need to pull 4 cards. And that's code for, okay, I can't leave it here. Okay, so, okay. Yeah, 3 of Swords. Now, this is actually really good for our discussion today. So I want you to keep note of this card. This is actually perfect because you know I would never leave you with this card and just say, oh, hey, we're done. This is, yes, there's an intensity to the card. Absolutely. And just as I was saying, for those of you that just arrived, the energy is meant to bring things up for healing this week. The energy is meant to bring things up for healing this week. So I don't really think I need to say too much about this card. I'm pretty sure you might have a feeling for it. But I will pull one more card. And what I will do is I'll just pull this card with the healing energy in mind. Like, okay, we know that we've got, this is very interesting. This never happened before where we have 3 cards that are swords. We have the 3 of Swords also. And remember that when we pull these, so 6 of Swords, 7 of Swords, and 3 of Swords, very important to remember before I pull the last card. When we pull these cards, we have the opportunity to heal our lineage. We do not have to carry forward anything that has disturbed the flow of love in the family line. This is really key for this reading. We have opportunities to heal ourselves backwards and forwards. And Kristen is going to come in and talk about that a little bit more, I think, from her perspective. But from this perspective and looking at the tarot from this perspective, wow, what an incredible week for opportunity to heal forward and backwards in time, to heal ourselves, and to not carry forward any of some of this challenged energy. So I'm going to pull one more card. I probably don't even need to, but I am going to pull one more card because this is the energy I want to bring in for our conversation. And this should not be a big surprise to anyone that now we're bringing in the High Priestess energy, right? Now we're bringing in that energy of support and love and healing and leadership and guidance and all the things that are really supportive. This is a very powerful reading. So, how do I want to say this? I'm just going to, Kristen, I want to bring you on. I want to continue this conversation, but let me bring Kristen on. For those of you who don't know Kristen, she is a practitioner and a teacher, a master teacher of a healing modality called Reiki, which I think most of you are familiar with. The reason I wanted Kristen to come on for today and for this week, I mean, I could have Kristen here every week and I'd be very happy, that we are not just because of the cards, but because of the astrology, we are in a time where Chiron and the North Node in Aries are conjunct today. Yeah. Now, will this happen again in our lifetime? Probably not in this way ever again. Okay. I don't think. No, probably not. Well, not my lifetime. Maybe if you're a lot younger, maybe, but I don't think it'll happen again in this lifetime for me. So what does that mean? That means that the healing energies are very strong in the Aries realm. So not everybody has Chiron in Aries. Not everybody has their North Node in Aries. In fact, most of us don't. But you may have one or the other, but you probably don't always have both. Some people do. Some people in this group do have both in Aries. So how does that affect all of us? It reminds us that we are in a time of profound healing, Chiron healing, North Node being able to do what we promised our souls we would do. And this is going to dovetail directly into Kristen's story, 100,000% into your story. And it's also a time where, as a collective, we are rising up to be advocates for those who don't have a voice. This is a really important time. We need to be pathfinders for what this new future, this new era. Everything is timed perfectly. And I know it's not always easy. And so that, I think the cards represent that very clearly. But the grace and the energy of healing is what we have to share with each other. So, Kristen, that was a really long introduction. I think I should just let you take it from here. I don't know how else I can introduce you, but to say I'm grateful for the work that you do. I'm grateful for who you are. And I'd like for you to just share as much or as little as you want to about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and why you're doing it.
You. Thank you, Denise. Hi. Hello, everyone. I know some of you. I'm looking to see who's here. Um, I see one of my students. Hello, Stacy. So yes, thank you, Denise, for having me. And as you guys might see on my screen, I own a practice. I started my own practice called Palo Alto Reiki about 4 years ago. And I would love to share my story of how I always say how Reiki found me. I did not find Reiki,
Okay, I like that.
found me. And the way I knew Reiki was going to be my next path forward is it didn't feel like learning. It felt like remembering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Every time the teacher said something, I was like, had this vague sense of like, don't I already know? Like,
Mm-hmm.
hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like, that was the clue where I was like, yes, I want more of this. In regards to the cards that you just pulled, I'll start there. I hosted my first ever Reiki share event on
Nice.
Saturday, and that is where practitioners of any kind, of any level, whether you've started a practice or not, come together to give each other Reiki and receive Reiki. And there were 8 of us in the room. And to your point, Denise, about the healing power and to have that many women focused on healing not only each other in that moment, but the collective good, it was absolutely magical.
That's
And
great.
it was uplifting, encouraging, all of these things that sometimes it's hard to find, it's hard to
Mm-hmm.
see, it's
Mm-hmm.
hard to really feel. And so, I share that just as this, beautiful opportunity. And honestly, if you're ever feeling hopeless or just overwhelmed, there's people every day doing this work. There's people all over the globe healing themselves, healing others, calling in this higher vibration. So it was just such a beautiful thing to witness and be a part of. So I leave that there as a little inspiration for all of us going forward. Okay, so yeah, you want me? I'll share my story
I
of.
would love to. I would love to. And before you do, I want to put a little pin in the remembering piece, because I feel like the High Priestess card really kind of brings that remembering that we're all remembering. It's not just some of us, we're all remembering. We get to access this now, and particularly with this astrology, that's another piece of it, right? I mean, the North Node, the Chiron connection, this is for everyone. It's in the collective.
Mhm.
So individually, it shows up in different parts of our chart, right? In your chart, it's pretty highlighted. As you, just so you know. But it definitely, it is for everyone. And it is this remembering of who we are. So why don't we talk about how you began the journey of remembering?
Yes, and I'm going to add to that as well, because in our world, in our society right now, most of us were taught, whether from our parents or through the school systems, that life is hard and you
Mm,
need to struggle and you need to really work. And when you get out there, you gotta fight for what you want, right? And all of that. That's a very masculine approach, right? Those are very masculine energies,
It's a
right?
very industrial revolution
Yes.
approach.
Right? Like it's gonna be
Yeah,
hard and you gotta have grit and you gotta
yeah,
fight for it and work
yeah,
for it. I am here to propose that it what if it was easy?
yeah, right?
What if it was easy? What if what you are naturally good at, what you are naturally drawn to, what comes easy to you is what you're here to do? Is
Not a
what
thought.
you're meant to do,
Mhm.
right? So lean into that, go with that. That's being in the flow of the universal energies. That's
Yeah.
being in the flow of your life. That's in the feminine energies. So I propose that, because it does tie into my story. I did all the things that you were supposed to do. I got good grades in high school. I got into the college I wanted. I studied marketing. I graduated and I got a job because that's what you do. And I worked in the job in, my 20s, moved a few times for the job. I worked at ad agencies, and then I went in-house and was doing marketing for big companies. You would know the names. Um, and it brought me here to California. And I struggled for many years. And I didn't really know why. I didn't know. I thought I was playing the game. I
Right.
thought I was doing the things to get the promotion, right? Because it's not just that you got the job, then you had to get the promotion, then you had to get the raise, then you had to, right? And so there was no level of satisfaction. It was always like, okay, I got this. Now what? Now what next? And it was very uncomfortable. And, looking back now, there's so many layers to why that was. Being a woman in corporate America is its own struggle in many ways, and I have stories there that I'm sure many of us
Yeah.
have very similar
Yes.
situations. So there's all of that, and then I also took maternity leave when I got pregnant, which that's a whole other thing with work because now I've been fighting to get ahead. And now, oh, just kidding. I'm leaving because now we don't have health care or childcare in this country. So I have to stay home with my
Right.
child. So then I lost, 5 years there. And then I went back. And that was when I hit the
Yeah.
wall, was
Yeah.
being a working mom, was truly doing what I had been told my whole life, which is you can have it all. You can have it all. You can do all of the things.
Yeah.
And my nervous system was just an absolute mess at all times. I had digestive issues. I couldn't sleep. I had at the time undiagnosed anxiety. So I had the busy mind all the time. So I kept pushing myself though, because it's what I was supposed to do. I had been told that's what you do. And, it's funny, people would say, oh, do you like your job? And, going back to work. And I would say the phrase that I look back and I'm like, I can't believe I was saying that then. But I said, it's soul sucking.
Well, yeah. And even then you knew that.
I knew on
Like
some
that
level,
was coming out of your mouth way back when.
my
Yeah.
soul was so unhappy. I was cosmically unhappy,
Yes.
like
Yes.
on the grand scale. So, working mom, stressed out, supposed to be going into work one morning. My girlfriend's like, let's meet for coffee. I'm like, great. Because again, I was saying yes to everything, just doing everything. So we meet for coffee and we are having our coffee and we're walking around. And the next thing I know, I am on the ground, flat. I didn't trip. I didn't slip. There was nothing in front of me. I just fell. And threw the coffee in front of me, was down on my stomach and just screaming in agony. I'd
Yeah.
never broken a bone in my life. Okay.
Mhm.
I had never had a severe injury involving breaking bones. Um, I couldn't get up. I'm screaming, screaming. So my friend calls an ambulance. The ambulance come. They take me to the emergency room. They quickly do x-rays to assess the situation. And the nurse comes in and says to me, so tell me about the car accident.
Oh, jeez.
And I said, I wasn't in a car accident. There was no car accident. I was having coffee. And she says, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I said, I just fell. I just fell having coffee. And she said, your ankle is shattered. It is shattered. Your leg is broken in two places. Your ankle is dislocated and it's shattered. So thus began
Yeah.
the next 2 years of my life. So I had to have reconstructive surgery. I have plates and screws and bolts, and they had to rebuild. And this is on my left, which, if
Oh,
anyone knows,
interesting. Yeah.
left represents the
Mhm.
feminine side.
Mhm.
So here I was in the man's world trying to keep up, right? And then the universe is like, and so about like right after the surgery, about a week after the surgery, I had a neighbor come over, bring us dinner, and she's sitting next to me. And she's like, what can I do for you? And I was like, make the pain go away. Like I'm in so much pain because I was bedridden. I could
Mhm.
not put any weight on it.
Mhm.
And she said, what if I call Hemla over? And I said, I don't know who Hemla is. And she goes, your neighbor 5 doors down. She's a healer. And I said, what's a healer? What are you talking about? What do you mean a healer? And she's like, she does Reiki, she does color therapy, she does crystal healing. And I was like, you know what? I don't know any of these words you're saying, but if you want to have her come over, yes. If she will help with my pain,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah.
So she did. She came over the next day. We met for
Um,
the first time. I was laying on my couch. I did not know what she was doing, but she was doing Reiki on
mhm.
me from head to toe.
Mhm.
And then she did this color therapy, and the color green kept coming up for
Mhm.
me, which is the healing color, the color of healing. And so when she left me a crystal, a green crystal, and I had one of those big boots on, to
Mhm.
keep your ankle
Yeah.
stabilized. She said, just tuck the crystal in your boot, just put it in your boot. And she left me a green spray, and she's like, visualize green healing energy around your ankle. And I was like, whatever, I have nothing better to do. I'm sitting on my couch 24/7. Fine, I'll visualize green light around my ankle, lady, whatever, you know? Because this is my first time
Right.
feeling
This
or
is impressive. You're
doing
doing great. Yeah. The
any of this,
universe clearly, yeah. I mean, this is a tough one. This is a tough,
right?
yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So fast forward 6 weeks, I go to my first doctor's appointment after the surgery, and they do x-rays again. And the doctor's looking at me and looking at the x-rays and looking at the calendar. And he's like, how long ago was your surgery? And I was like, you were there? I was like, I don't know. And he's like, uh, Kristen, I have never seen bones heal as quickly. He goes, for the severity of your injury. He's like, this is amazing. You know, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And I'm okay. So I go to the parking lot in the doctor's office and I call my sister and I was like, I think that witch who lives on my street did something. I was like, I think that
Huh?
crystal worked. I
Yeah.
think that. And so from there, I started my dabbling. I call it my dabbling years. So Pamela had a meditation circle. I was like, okay, I'll go once a month and meditate. And then we started playing oracle cards, you know, not playing, but she would draw.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are these fun things? And, you know, and so I was just very curious and open, but it was always a hobby. It was always a
Right.
hobby.
Mhm.
My whole focus was to get better, get off the crutches so I could get back in the office and I could get back to work. And that was still like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, during all of this, during all my bed rest, we were remodeling my home.
Of
So I
course.
had also had to pack the entire house, move to a rental, and my kids are in preschool and elementary school, and my husband works full time
Yeah.
at a high powered job, and we don't live by family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So you talk about the pressure of a
Oh, yeah.
situation.
Yeah. It was
Let's
a
make it
complete remodel. Complete remodel.
complete. Got it.
Complete.
They're like, the universe is like, we're going to make it so
Yeah.
uncomfortable that she cannot ignore us.
I
Like
know. What is it with you Aries people?
oh, it's going to be so uncomfortable. So we moved back in. So it's been 9 months since the surgery. I am walking. I had to go to physical therapy, learn to walk again, do all of it. We're moving back into the house. I'm still supposed to be very careful with what I'm doing, which I'm not. And my husband even hired a company to unpack the house for us, but they weren't doing it the way I wanted it done. So I was unpacking and I rebroke my ankle, ladies. Because guess who still hadn't gotten her message? So I had to go back to the emergency room. I had to have a second reconstructive surgery, and I was back to the beginning of 9 months of recovery. I was back on bed rest.
Wow.
I was in this beautiful new home, and I couldn't do
Wow.
a D thing.
Wow.
And so then the depression, and then the what is happening to me. I just could not believe I had come so far. And I was right back where I started. It was devastating, devastating. And still, I wanted to get back to work.
Okay, yeah. So this is the focal point. See, and this is the thing, right? Like the whole vision. And this is the thing that I think is challenging for all of us is when we have the vision, but it's not fully aligned. It's not fully aligned.
And this is where I believe with my entire being that what is meant for you, you won't miss it.
Yeah.
You won't miss it. When it feels like a completely left turn in your life, it's like, stay curious.
Yeah.
What is it showing you?
But you're really, I mean, you're coming to a really important crux point because the despair
Oh,
and the anxiety, and, I want to be careful with the word depression because I don't know if it was clinical depression or,
no, just a sense of
sense of,
distraught.
yeah, that is unfortunately where a lot of us end up there, regardless of what the precursor of that is.
Yes, yes.
That I think is something where it's like you were already noting that the job was soul sucking. So that's one thing, right? But this literal, like what you're describing, that level of despair, that happens.
Right.
It really does. And it can really pretty much happen to everyone. So it's not, it doesn't have any boundaries.
No, no.
Despair. Yeah.
And so to that point, I still, I feel, I find it fascinating that as I described my life before the accident, I was so busy, right? I
Mhm,
was
mhm,
busy. I was
mhm,
a mom. I was working full time. I was still, had a social life and I
mhm,
volunteered.
mhm,
And then to have an accident that literally stops you,
mhm, mhm.
that
Yeah.
literally sat me on my butt for 9 months and then another 6 after the second. So, I mean, it's just so to wrap it up, I end up, and by the way, I'm still doing the meditation things. I had joined a full moon circle by this point, but again, these are my hobbies, right?
Uh-huh.
Are
Okay.
my hobbies.
Okay.
So I go back to work on crutches. This is the second after the second accident. And I'm super, super, super disgruntled at this job. I end up leaving for an even better job, this amazing opportunity at a tech company here in Silicon Valley. And I'm like, I'm literally thinking this is the pinnacle of my career. Like,
Oh my.
I'm finally going to make it. I lasted 3 months. 3 months. That job was so intense. That job took everything I hated about corporate America and just kicked it up a notch. I used to book conference rooms to go cry in. I'm not kidding. That's how intense this job was.
Oh, that makes me want to cry.
I literally would hide and cry
Wow.
with stress.
Wow.
So one day, my boss was giving me constructive feedback, which I
Mm.
already was just a pile of goo, and I'm just, and I stood up because I'm very dramatic. I stood up, I had my laptop, I took my badge off, I put it down on my desk, and I walked out the front door.
Wow. That's that Leo moon, just in case anyone's curious.
It was as if literally like angels had come down and were
Yeah.
put it down, ma'am.
Like now it's time. You got to
Yeah,
go now.
because it wasn't there was no plan. It was so unlike me to just,
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
I remember calling my husband from the car sobbing, and I said, honey, I'm so sorry, but I just quit. And what's fascinating is I didn't say to him, I just quit my job. I said, I just quit corporate America.
Oh, very good. It was like you knew that was not the fit.
Done.
Not at all.
I had no plan. I had no plan. So I started taking classes, different classes, but you guys, I was all over the board. I was like, I knew I wanted to help people. This was the common thread. And I was like, should I go back to school and be a teacher? Should I be a nurse? Should I? But then I was like, I don't want another 3, 4, 5 years of school. Like,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just, so I was like, how can I help people
That's a great question. That's actually a
without
great question. How can I help people without?
like doing all the schooling and doing all, because again, I was thinking in terms of our current existing systems. You
Yeah.
must go to school and you must do this and then you must have the job and then you must,
Yeah.
and it just, I was like, I know it's not
Hadn't
right. I know it's not right.
quite.
I know it's not
Yeah.
right. And so meanwhile, I am just learning and living my life. And look at this. This is my healing journey, you guys. I made
Wow.
this binder of all the different classes I found
Oh,
and I would just show up and go to. Again,
wow.
thinking none of it was a line, thinking my life was like all over. And now I look back, I'm like, that was a straight line. That
Uh-huh.
was from point A to point, like that was an
Yep.
absolute straight line. But at the time, it felt like circles. It felt
Well,
forward,
and yeah, and
backward.
the truth is that healing, it's a line, but it's also a spiral.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's really where you were, is you were moving in that spiral of the
Yeah. And
healing
so
energy.
I took classes on how to awaken your intuition. I took a class on how to read tarot cards. I took a class, I went and had my Enneagram done.
Mhm.
I went to therapy. I
Mhm.
I was like, I was like, because
Yeah.
childhood trauma all played into all of this.
Well, yes, speaking
So
of
I was like,
Chiron,
it's
yes.
time
Yeah.
to uncover that and
Yeah.
what's there. So go to therapy, end up going to a psychic. So this is to understand the scale of this. This is 2 full years of not knowing what I'm doing.
Okay. So, okay.
Of taking a lot of naps on the couch, of
Okay.
volunteering at the kids' school, of just what am I doing
Mhm.
with my life?
Right.
And I end up getting referred to a psychic who only does it over Zoom. She's
Mhm.
down in LA. She's one of
Mhm.
those psychics where you have to know someone who knows someone who knows someone to give you her
Right.
number.
Yes.
And so she gives me a reading, and basically the reason I wanted to meet with her is because I wanted her to tell me, what am I supposed to be doing? I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing, ma'am. This is ridiculous. It's been 2 years. Tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. And she goes through this whole reading. We're on a Zoom for an hour. And she says at the end, do you have any questions? I said, yeah, you have not told. What am I supposed to be doing? And she looks right at me and she goes, I think you know. And I said, don't give me, like, I'm paying you. Like, you tell me what I'm supposed to be doing. And she says, you know. You guys, I have never said these words out loud. I'm very dramatic. I have to play it out for you. I'm on the Zoom with her and I go like this. And I start bawling. I'm hysterically crying and I'm like trying to like hold my face to my head. And I look at her and I said, I'm supposed to be a healer. And I'd never said that out loud. And I could not believe the words were coming out of my mouth. And she goes, I think we're done here.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
And I was
I think
like,
I've had that experience. Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
it just clicked. And it's like how I found her. And then, so then the next thing I did, so I'm like, okay, a healer. What do you mean? What do I have to do to be a healer? And so I started taking classes like how to use the pendulum and how to EFT. I took an
Mhm.
EFT class and then Reiki. I found a brochure. You know how it works. It's right. And I'm like, oh, she's offering it on Zoom. Okay, I'll take Reiki. And that was
Yeah.
back to the beginning. 10 minutes into that class, I was like, ladies and gentlemen, we have found it. This is everything she's saying
Yeah.
sounds like I already heard it. It's
Yeah.
resonating. Everything she said, I got more and more excited about. So I did Reiki 1 with her too. Reiki 1, you're supposed to wait so many months to do
Mhm.
Reiki 2. I was like, I'm not going to wait. I'm like emailing her. I need to do Reiki 2 as soon as you
Yeah.
possibly will let me. She's like, fine, do this, read this book and then you can do Reiki 2. I did Reiki 2. And then same thing, you're supposed to wait to be a master. And I was like, yeah, I need to now. This needs to happen
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So then I got my master certification. I did 40 practice clients
Mhm.
and literally opened the business. When I talk about finding the flow,
Yeah.
I was along for the ride at this point.
Yeah.
I had never experienced anything like this in my life. I'm just, oh, I should do that. Okay, I'm going to do, oh, I should do that. Oh, that, I think I mean, literally, I designed my own website. I made up my pricing. I didn't know. And I was just like, just going to see what happens. And
Yes.
that was 4 years ago. And
Yes.
it has been
Yes.
non-stop.
Stop. Yes. Yes. And that leads us into, thank you so much. It's a great story because there's so many elements that we can all relate to at different times in our lives. I really appreciate you taking the time to kind of just, suss out the fact that we don't always listen. And I know in the chat we have some comments about, yeah, a lot of us are extraordinarily resilient. In fact, we are told that being resilient is the thing to be, be strong, be resilient. Now, yes, do we need to be strong and resilient? Yes, of course. And you will know, it's kind of like what Kristen was saying, you will know when enough is enough. And Kristen, it's fair to say that you had an inkling, but the way life was created, and this is where it gets challenging. And I will say my story is different because I didn't go down the path that was expected. And that, when I veered off that path after I graduated from college, I tried. I lasted 8 months in one job, and then I went to the next expected job. I tried a different career. I lasted, I don't know, a year in that job. They had never given an exit interview for anyone who wasn't retiring. That's the kind of, I was in the Bay Area in a particular thing. And then I went to another job that I lasted 2 years. In that job, I was getting braver though, because I was like, I'm going to try to redesign my job to do what I want to do. So I went to my boss and I'm like, here's my proposal for redesigning my job. And she's like, you don't get to do that. And so I quit. But then I went into the next phase of my life, which was teaching. Now, at that point, I had already veered off the path that was expected. I was expected to be, I mean, literally, people told me in my life, and I'm sure you heard this too, we expect you to be a CEO by the time you're 25. Like, what? I didn't even know what that was. I mean, ridiculous anyway. Why would anyone say that to you anyway? But I was like, I don't even know what a CEO is. That's not working for me. Anyway, so then I went into teaching, and teaching was a much gentler up to a point. I mean, let's say it really wasn't that gentle, but it was more aligned. And that's where then it starts to get interesting, because we start to get a little aligned, and that's when we start to stick with it until and then you shift. And so I've had a series of those shifts over my lifetime. Not one big dramatic one, but I've had several very large shifts that have propelled me into what I'm doing now. And the last one being about, gosh, 13 years now, 13 years ago. That was probably the biggest shift of all. And I was already doing this work. So you can imagine, Kristen, you're really speaking to, even when you're in alignment, there's still nuances that need to be handled. Because you said something at the beginning, which I thought was interesting. Your phrase was, here I am trying to keep up in the corporate world. And I was thinking to myself when you said that, oh, right. Because if we think what we don't see is that we are far beyond that. We are in a different world than that.
Yeah.
So if we're trying to keep up, we're not even in the right universe.
Correct. That's a great way of phrasing it.
You were just, I veered off the path. And there's no judgment. And sometimes it takes a while to come back.
And again, in hindsight, one of the big misalignments for me was that game that you play in corporate America with your career, and everything is, for me at the time, felt out of integrity. You couldn't be your real self. It was all this posturing and who knows who and who met with who. And I found it so icky. So icky. And so I realize now, and I'm like, oh, integrity is incredibly important to me. It is a core value of mine. And so that in and of itself, no matter what the career is, or no matter, you could be out of integrity in your marriage, in your, anything, but it was like, until you realize and put a name to that core value of your soul.
Yes.
You're not really aware what is the problem here.
Exactly. What's the lineup? And I want to say that there are some people where their authentic self is to be a CEO. Their authentic self is to be that marketing manager.
And go for it.
Yeah, 100%. Because this is so random, but these things come out of nowhere, right? I had this boyfriend once in college who said by the time he was 3, he knew he was meant to be a lawyer. I mean, who knows that? But he did. And so he's made this incredibly good existence following a core value, which for him was, I think if we were to boil it down, he's not here to speak for himself, but I think truth was a core value for him, and he wanted to get at the truth. And that was part of what led him on that journey. So you can be in any profession.
Anything.
any
Yeah.
profession.
Yeah.
But you've got to come back to this alignment.
To
And this
you.
is your story of
Yeah.
remembering that alignment. And I will just say, I mean, you can say this, but I'm going to say it for you. You know, Kristen has helped so many people in just 4 years. It's kind of phenomenal. And I do think that and again, this also speaks to nothing in your life is wasted. Nothing is wasted. That whole marketing background, not wasted,
Not wasted.
not at all. You know, following the path that was outlined for you, not wasted,
Mm-mm.
because you can relate to all kinds of different people. And you've been able to help so many people in just 4 years. And what was your original question? How can I help?
Well,
You know, another way to say that, not everyone's a 2 on the Enneagram. So another way to say that is, what is mine to do
mhm.
in this lifetime? Another way to say it is, what's calling to me? What is lighting up my inspiration? You know, there's all kinds of ways to get into that. And I think where we get stuck, and again, you don't have to speak to this, but I think that the healing energies are open up more infinite possibilities. We get stuck when we think that there's only one way or a way, and our lives are created a certain way. And I mean, I, for one, understand this, I gave up a lot to
Yep.
go on my path
Yep.
13 years ago. So I understand that, but it doesn't always have to be a sacrifice. And I think
Correct.
that you were speaking to that as well at the beginning. It doesn't, what if you said, what if what we're here to do is the easy way to do, you know, what if we are naturally aligned with that?
Right.
So what I want to kind of, because I mean, we've been talking, of course, we could talk for hours, um, is I want to talk about how Reiki itself,
Yes.
I really want to get into this because here's the thing. Kristen offers a group Reiki class the last Sunday, if I'm right, doing this right, the last Sunday of the month at what time Pacific?
Yeah. It's not a class, it's to receive Reiki.
Right, to
Yeah.
receive Reiki.
So to receive Reiki, it's the last Sunday of every month at 6 p.m. Pacific
Right.
on Zoom. Judy comes. So we have
Yay.
Judy Lawrence is there every month, and it's to experience Reiki for yourself.
Right.
Whether you've had it before or you just kind of want to like an extra session.
Right.
And it's $11, and it is
Right.
priced at $11 so that it is accessible to anyone,
Yes.
anywhere. That's why it's on Zoom.
Yes.
So thank you, Judy.
And and if you're not in that time zone, tell us how that works. Tell us about
Yeah,
Reiki and how it works.
yeah. So do you mean, oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say is, based on my whole story, and thank you all for listening, what I then found my calling to be through Reiki was having women understand that getting into your true essence, into your
Yeah.
truth, into your purpose
Mhm.
will then align your life and get you
Exactly. Let's say that
into the
again.
flow.
Let's say that again. That's really important.
So Reiki helps you get into your alignment,
Mhm.
your soul's purpose,
Mhm.
your truth,
Yes,
so that you can find that flow for your life.
exactly. And it can be anything, but the Reiki
Absolutely.
lines that back up
Yes.
because it is life force energy that
Yes.
is moving through us and with us and around us all the time.
All the time. And,
All the
Reiki is
time.
both a philosophy and a practice. So the
Mhm.
philosophy is what Denise just said, that there is universal life force energy around us always. It's all the living things, the trees, right? Everything is energy. Science has told us that. And so you have this philosophy that when your energy is cleared of things that aren't yours, cleared of heaviness, of grief that you're done processing, Reiki never moves anything that's not ready to move.
Yes.
So
Very
that's
important.
it. You may come here saying, "Oh, I have so much grief." If it's ready to move, it will move.
Mhm.
If you still have some processing and some things to learn and see through that grief,
Yeah.
it may feel a little lighter,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
it's still there. So, you come for Reiki, you may come in and say, "Oh, I have headaches and I'm not sleeping well." And that's what brings you here. And then we go through the whole session and other things come up. You might go, "Oh, I feel so much lighter." And then all of a sudden you'll start talking about your mother or your job or your boyfriend or
Mhm.
your finances. And it's fascinating because it's like, that's what you're meant to be seeing right now. Sit
Yes.
with that, explore that.
And that fits great with the energy for today. Also want to address that question about why is it as effective on Zoom as it is in person? I mean, I'll just say my part in that. Um, I think, if we were to go in for like physical touch body work, obviously, that's better in person. Um, but that being said, Zoom has opened up because I mean, you're going to say it better than I am. I'll say it my way. But there is this portal that is opened anyway. You don't need to be in the same room. This is beyond us. This is not
Correct.
limited by our human construction here. So now you say it your way.
You're absolutely right. It's kind of my favorite part of it because it feels like the magic of it.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just like, everything is energy. Maybe you've heard of the butterfly effect, right? A butterfly flaps its wings in America and that creates the wind that creates a hurricane, right? In Australia, it's like, so we're all connected. It
Yeah.
it it plays into the laws of the universe that we
Yes.
are one, that we are connected, and
Yes.
it's that strength of intention. So when I also say, so I said Reiki is a philosophy and a practice. So the practice of Reiki is learning the lineage of it, the hand positions, and symbols. And in Reiki level 2, you learn a symbol for distant Reiki.
There you
So when
go.
I come onto a Zoom for Reiki to give Reiki over Zoom, I invoke the distance symbol. I set my intention that we are connecting
Mhm.
through time and space, through the cosmos.
Yeah.
Your intention is to receive for your highest good.
Yeah.
Thus, we are connected.
Exactly. So I'm going to just put it in some very Taurian terms here, which is very like, solid. For those of you who can remember old radios that have the dials and you have a frequency, and there's also shortwave radios, ham radios, where you could talk to people across the distance. And so I would dial into, a particular frequency, and Kristen would dial into her particular frequency, and then we would bridge this amazing thing where two people in other parts of the world could dial into that frequency and talk to each other. It's the same or better actually, because it's healing.
Yeah.
It's healing energy.
And thank you for that example. I giggle too because people are like, how does distant Reiki work? And I go, how does Wi-Fi work?
I know. How does any of this work?
How
I
does
can't grasp that. I can actually grasp.
Bluetooth
I,
work?
yeah, I know. Well, for me, Reiki's easy to think about. The whole technology thing, no clue, none. Can't fathom, don't understand
I
it,
don't
but
understand.
no problem with healing energy or seeing the other side. Oh, yeah. How is it we see the other side? Not a problem. They're just right here. I don't know. You just link up.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, you're here. Thanks for joining, but no Zoom, no idea. No idea. You want to talk to someone on the other side? I'm your person. But no, I don't understand Zoom. So yeah, but I mean, that's the beauty of Reiki is that you can learn it, teach it. This is a thing, and this is a thing, Kristen, I really want to to really, I took one Reiki class, actually two Reiki classes. I'm the kind of person that needs to take classes twice. I'm just outing myself. I like to make sure I understand things. So I tend to take everything, like the first class, I take it twice. So I've taken Reiki twice from Kristen. I think I have a really good understanding of it. I receive Reiki at least one time monthly from one of Kristen's students, who's now also a Master Reiki teacher, and who you all know. But we're focusing on Kristen today, so we're focusing on Kristen. But I also, when I can, I like to come to the community Reiki. So I'm going to actually share something with all of you. The last time Kristen had community Reiki, I couldn't come in person, or I mean, I couldn't even
Yeah.
come on Zoom. And I asked her, I'm like, can I sign up and receive it even if I'm not lying down? Can I receive it anyway, even though I need to go to this thing? And she said, yes, you can. So what I did, and I think this is inherent, you know, we as receivers need to tune in as well. When I came home that night, I tuned in and laid down and
Woo.
received. And that's, so let's talk about that. Why did it wait for me, Kristen?
Why did it wait for you?
Yeah, why? How does it
Be
work?
because I set the intention that
Yeah,
you receive it,
right.
and you set the intention to receive it. And so
Exactly.
our energies connected in divine timing. And, y- you know, it- Reiki literally has no bounds. The energy has
Exactly.
no bounds.
Right.
And so there are some Reiki practitioners who will literally, like, say I'm busy today, but somebody's like, can you please send me Reiki at
Mhm.
3 o'clock?
Yeah.
I can right now write 3 o'clock on a piece of paper,
Mhm.
Reiki it, write the person's name, Reiki it,
Mhm.
and then go about my day. And I have set the intention that that person receive Reiki at 3 o'clock.
Right. And how hard is that? I can set an alarm on my
Correct.
phone,
Correct.
right? So
Correct.
again,
Same.
could I tell you how that works? No, but it's the same idea,
Yep.
is that you're putting a pin in something. You're
Yep.
saying this is waiting, this will unlock, this will open, this will be sent, this will be received. It's it's the earliest and most ancient and most
Yep.
profound magic there is
Yep.
in the universe.
You're gonna make me get emotional.
But it is because, you know, we talk about being a healing practitioner, or, you know, you remembering that this is your path. You know, when I think about this, you know, and all of you know this, but we're gonna underscore it right now. Kristen went through hell to get to the remembering part. We don't want anyone else to have to go through
No,
that. Okay,
please.
so that's really important. And also the timing, I think, was so urgent because of what happened in 2020 forward. So can
Yeah.
you do, what was the day that you started your business? Like you opened the doors. Do you remember that? So to
Um,
speak.
yes, I'm looking at all of these dates. It was like, well, the date up here I have is April 24th, 2020.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And everything shut down March 13th,
Yeah. So it
2020.
was like you had to have all of that experience
Uh-huh.
prior, because the thing is, and you were doing Reiki, and people don't know this, but you were doing it outside.
All during COVID, I
Yeah.
set up 2 lawn chairs 6 feet apart in my backyard, put up a soccer tent for shade. We wore masks,
Yeah. Because you
and
know,
I sanitized
yeah.
everything. And we did Reiki that way for a year and a half
Yeah.
outside.
No, and I just want to, I mean, this is what I love more than anything. And I'm so grateful for you, because I want you all to imagine corporations you would know the names of. Kristen in her office, probably with a nice view, you know, to the backyard
Mhm.
with the lawn chairs.
Yep.
And you're being
Yep.
happier than you've ever been in your
Ever,
life.
ever.
Yeah. Right?
Birds would come visit the Reiki session. Squirrels would come by,
Yeah.
butterflies, hummingbirds. I was like, this is heaven. I am in heaven. Yeah.
Yeah. And that has not changed over 4 years. So like, that's the thing, like again, really dialing this point in, understanding the core values, very important, right? Understanding who you are,
Yeah.
dialing into your essence. And Reiki is a modality that can really help realign, support, open, and heal. I mean, there's a lot even before you get to the healing part, you know?
Yeah.
So we're going to take another couple of minutes just because we're already at an hour and I know some of you have to go. But Kristen, is there anything in particular that's calling to you to share about the practice or about any of your own personal experiences?
Oh, I feel no, unless anyone has a question, I'm happy to answer questions.
Yeah, and just put them in the chat just to keep it, if you want to stay anonymous or confidential, because we're putting this on YouTube um, for all to see and hear. Um, do people do Reiki on animals? Oh,
Yes.
hello.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes. Animals tend to, well, and okay, so you can never force Reiki on someone, is what
No,
I want
that's
to
right.
say.
Yes.
So if an animal is open to Reiki, if an animal, and you will know, right? The dog will walk away, or the cat will scratch your
Mhm.
eyes out, like whatever it is, right? So it's very clear with the animals. Um, so yeah, so I actually have had some clients, some animal clients, and
Yeah.
I've gone to the person's house so that the animal is comfortable and they're in their own, their own space with their owner. And I just sort of sit in a chair and I just beam the Reiki, and the animal doesn't have to be contained in any way. They can do their thing. And I have had owner after owner say, "Oh my God, they never do that." And the dog, I had one dog that just on my lap, a big dog, just kept backing up into me, backing. And I was like, okay, root chakra, what's going on? Like that dog was telling me,
Yeah.
put the Reiki here, like here. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And animals, I mean, in my experience, both having, when Magical Sheena was dying and having the
Yeah.
support of the Reiki community, um, that moment in time, in fact, that her death, I mean, I'm trained in other healing modalities, which I use, but her death kind of propelled me to take Kristen's class later, like a couple months later, because I was like, not that we did everything we could do. It was her time. She was 20 something years old. So, I mean, it wasn't like she was young or anything, but having been held in that Reiki energy and knowing she was held got her from the vet's office where he was not going to let her leave the vet to home because we had already created a place for her to have her transition to the next realm at home. That Reiki container, because he said she's going to die in the 10 minutes it takes you to drive home. That's what he told us. She's going to die and you will have, you're putting her through this unnecessary suffering. And by the way, this was an emergency vet, not her regular vet. It was a whole horrible day. But anyway, and I think I can talk about it without crying, but again, it hasn't been that long. It's only been, I don't know, 2 years. We were able to bring her home. She came home. She went to all her favorite spots and she sat there. And then she was done. And by that time, the hospice, well, I guess at that point, the euthanasia vet was there. And it was time. And it was horrifically hard. This is never easy. There's nothing that ever takes away the pain of this. But having the Reiki container and knowing that all of you were doing Reiki made it so vastly different. And because when it's our own animal, yes, can we do Reiki but when we're in the midst of this kind of thing,
Yes.
we need we need our community.
Yes.
And you need to know who to reach out to. And so that's why it's really, I actually think, and I'm going to just put this out there, I think it's awesome to have groups of people who want to learn Reiki together. You and your friends want to learn it together so that you, when you have these experiences, you can call on each other.
That's such an incredible point. I probably need to, say that more often, Denise. Thank you for bringing that in because honestly, that I'm on two different text strings that I know people, and I can say, yeah, if
Yes.
I
Yes.
need to just receive, I
Yeah.
can say, hey guys, yeah,
Yeah.
can I get some Reiki?
Yes.
It's incredible to have that community.
It
Um,
is.
the other thing you bring up, Denise, is that connection between pets and their owners.
Mhm.
Because, a lot of times people will say, oh, my pet needs Reiki or my kid needs Reiki. And as I'm doing the Reiki on the kid or the pet, it's like, oh, you need support too.
Exactly. There's always that. Yes.
You as the
Yeah.
mama, like you need the support too, right? And so the Reiki
Absolutely.
just,
And that's what I
yeah.
felt the most. So, one of the questions, do you have group classes? Kristen does have group classes. And I was,
Yeah, I don't have my next date for Reiki 1, but I teach it every couple months. So I just finished last weekend a Reiki 1, so I'll put it on the calendar.
okay.
It's a 2-day, we do like a Friday afternoon and a Saturday morning,
Yeah.
and learn the technique
Mhm.
as well as the spiritual part of the practices. There's an initiation ceremony called
Yeah,
an
which is
attunement,
lovely.
and
Yeah.
it's when your channel to universal energy is open. We all are connected already. You are a part of the energy just by existing. It's a
Yes.
birthright to all of us. The Reiki attunement just kind of widens that channel. So
That's a
you're
nice way
just,
to look
you're
at it. I like how you said that. That's beautiful. So yes, one of the things, Kristen, can you quickly put your website link in the chat?
oh
Just,
yeah, website.
I mean, it's on the email,
Yeah,
but I
thank
just will,
you.
and I'll put it in a follow-up, but I just really want everyone to be able to sign up for Sunday night if they want to.
Yeah, I think it's in two. Yeah, it's only, oh yeah, you're right. It is this. Oh my God, it's a new week. Hello, Monday. Okay.
Well, it's the last Sunday of the month,
Yeah,
and
so it
so I'm
is. It's
like
the 25th.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So,
Feb. I'll just put it in here.
okay. And then this question, I love this question. Do you ever feel someone should get reattuned if they're already certified in level 1 and 2? I
Do you
would
want to
say
answer?
yes, because I'm the one that always has to take the classes twice. But I mean, it's not a have to do. What do you think, Chris?
It's not a have to do. It's
Okay.
not a have to do.
Okay.
When I attune people, the belief is that once you have it, once you have your attunement, you always have it. You can never
Yeah.
lose Reiki.
Right.
That said, some people prefer sort of this refresher, this
I like refreshing.
yeah, and so yes, the answer is yes. I have reattuned people.
Mhm.
It's not a problem. I just had a woman come for a reattunement, and she said she wanted to be reattuned in 1 and 2. And as I'm doing the attunement, I'm like, she has Reiki level 3. Like I'm like she has the master's, like
Yeah.
she has the master symbol. So when we were done with the attunement, I said to her, "Have you gone through Reiki 3?" And she goes, yeah, I have. I don't want to use it moving forward. I just want to use 1 and 2. I'm like, yeah, ma'am, you are a Reiki master. Like you have the attunement. I saw it, so
So,
I,
but we need each other, and this is the thing. And so
yeah,
it's not, again, I'm just gonna pull us full circle again. We're in this time where we are meant to work in pods or groups or connect. This is the time. This is it. This is what we've all been getting ready for. So having your people that you can reach out to who will remind you, oh yes, by the way, you do have this, or that you can create, like you said, this past weekend, having the Reiki share
ooh,
experience. This is all possible, whether it's online or in
mhm.
person. It's all possible. So to this note, before it gets to 11:11 on my clock, I want to read what Chris Ann says about the high priestess, because you know how much I love her affirmations, right? So this fits exactly with what we've talked about today, Kristen. Are you ready? I have the answers I seek, and by following the truth, I will find them. Have the answers I seek, and by following the truth, I will find them. You have everything you need within you. Kristen is an example of following the path, the breadcrumbs, the tears, but now also the laughter and the joy and the soulfulness, right? And the fulfillment. So, Kristen, thank you for being here today. I mean, I know we could go on, and we will. We have plans for the future.
We do.
We do. Some exciting things that will be showing up sometime in your lives. Any last words, Kristen, before we close?
I think that card said it all. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you so
Yay.
much.
You're welcome. And thank you so much. So I'm going to stop the recording.